As long as I have been in church life, and I have been in church life all my life, there is one question I have been asked over and over again that I don't particularly like to hear. And the question is, do you have a personal relationship with Jesus? Now, this is not an inherently bad question. It's a okay question as it goes, but I just believe that too many religious folk ask that question as a prompt to elicit a response so they can evangelize. Notice I said evangelize. I didn't say that they can bear witness. They want to evangelize. And as I see it, the biggest problem with the question is that it is not open-ended. The answer has to be yes or no. Do you have a personal relationship with Christ? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, the questioner and the one who answers can be friends. If the answer is no, then the questioner is going to try to bring you to Christ. Again, nothing wrong with it necessarily. But the problem for me is that in the answer, whether you answer yes or no, we end up ignoring or avoiding describing what kind of relationship we have with Jesus. A better question is, what is your relationship with Jesus like? Now that's the question I can answer. That's the question I would like to answer. What is your relationship with Jesus like? And if I'm honest, some days, Jesus and I get along well. We hang out all the time. And then you catch me another day, I was like, I've been avoiding Jesus like the plague. I've been avoiding Jesus because I want to be nasty today. I've been avoiding Jesus because I'm just not feeling it today. That's the question. And so in our text today, Jesus helps us move beyond the yes or no answer to the question about our relationship with him. Jesus describes exactly what a relationship with him looks like and how that relationship determines who his followers are in the world and what those followers will do in the world when Jesus is not around. When Jesus is not obviously visible, when we're not sure that Jesus is available. Ever since his encounter with his first would-be disciple in the Gospel of John, when Andrew asked Jesus, "Hey, Jesus, where are you staying?" And Jesus replied, "Come and see." Jesus has been revealing to his followers what it means to be in relationship with God and with Jesus. And in every sign Jesus has performed, he has been revealing himself to be the Word who became flesh and dwelt among them. The disciples and followers have seen in those signs, the healings, the feedings, the providing, the bringing of life to Lazarus. They've been seeing in everything Jesus does God's glory and the fullness of grace. And so from that experience, the disciples have been saved. The disciples have come to believe Jesus is the one on whom God has set God's seal. The disciples have come to experience abundance in their belief. And now at this very moment, having completed his earthly ministry, Jesus must now confront the world's hatred in the form of a cross. In a word, Jesus is about to get killed. And so his disciples now are going to have to answer the question, now that Jesus is gone, what is your relationship with Jesus like? So the words we read today are part of Jesus' farewell discourse to his disciples. This is Jesus' opportunity to impart to them how to continue in the ministry that they began with Jesus. And so he shares a last meal with them. Jesus washes their feet to embody for them what it means to serve humbly. And then Jesus leaves them a new commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. And Jesus promises them that if you believe in me, if you love the way I do, then you will do even greater things than I have done. Now, the obvious question is, how can they love like Jesus loved? How can they do greater things than Jesus did? That doesn't seem to compute. How can I love the way Jesus loved? And how can I do greater things than Jesus did? The answer is simple. It's just not easy. They can love like Jesus loved. And they can do greater things than Jesus ever did, as long as they abide in Jesus. Oh, see, it's not sexy. You didn't flinch. But that's the answer. Abide in me as I abide in you. Remain connected to the source of life and abundance, and they will bear much fruit. You see, Jesus can do what Jesus does because of his relationship with God. If you ever wondered how Jesus did what Jesus did, it was because of Jesus' relationship to God. Jesus abides in God completely. Jesus likens himself to a vine and God as a gardener who tends to him, who shapes him, who prunes him. So Jesus can do all of these great works. So Jesus can always be loving and serving and giving. Jesus' relationship with God is such that God removes anything in him that does not bear fruit, but God tends to that which makes Jesus do what Jesus does. That's the answer. And so the reason Jesus can turn water into 20 or 30 gallons of wine, the reason Jesus can satisfy the deepest spiritual thirst of the Samaritan woman, the reason Jesus can bring sight to the man born blind, the reason Jesus can feed 5,000 people with 2 fish and 5 loaves is because of God. He stays in God. He abides in the source of extravagant love, life, and light. Jesus can do all these things because he abides in the God who loved the world so much that God sent him in the first place. And these great works, by the way, can be done by the disciples. These great works can be done by the followers. The disciples can love and serve and heal and provide just as Jesus has done. They have already been saved in their encounter with Jesus. They have come to know that Jesus comes from God and makes God's presence known to them. They have been showered with the light and abundance of God's grace upon grace. Now, greater works remain for them to do. And they can do it. They can do it. Jesus tells them, you can do it. Abide in me. They can do it if they remain connected to the source of life, without whom they can do nothing. They can bear the fruit of love, life, and abundance as long as they allow themselves to be pruned and shaped by Jesus. And here's the beautiful part. And here's the part that our friends out front don't seem to get. If you let Jesus shape and prune you, the world will know what it feels like to be loved. You wouldn't have to shout and hold signs at people. If you let Jesus prune and shape you, the world will know what it means to be a disciple. If you let Jesus shape and prune us, the world will see in our fruit what God is capable of doing and that God is in our midst. Oh, the disciples can do it. And therein lies the truth that all God's children as a church and all of us sitting here as people of God must know as we look forward to our future. Oh, this church has done some wonderful things throughout her history. Our ministry is a witness to the power of Jesus' unconditional love for all people. We have tried every day, all day, always to provide generous hospitality to anybody who ever shows up. That is the work that we have committed ourselves to do. But here's the thing. Oh my God, we can do even greater things than this. The imagination cannot conceive of what lays before us if we let Jesus use us. If we abide in the source of love, light, and abundance, who knows what we can accomplish just by showing up and letting ourselves be shaped and pruned. And so if we do this, if we abide in Jesus, if we walk in the way of Jesus, if we liken ourselves to branches connected to that life-giving vine, Jesus will be completely unnecessary. No one would have to even ask it, because as soon as we walk up, oh, they are connected to Jesus. They're connected to love. They abide in something that's life-giving and abundant and fruitful. I don't have to ask a question because I feel it, I see it, I know that they are disciples. And so the question for us and every other church is, how will we remain the people of God? How do we, the learners and followers of Jesus who know the love and abundance of God through our encounter with Jesus, how will we remain true to the word we have received? How do we make the presence of God known in the world today? We abide. We stay with Jesus. You know, today's churches of all, I go to the workshops, I go to the conferences. We spend so much time trying to figure out how to get people to come to church. We develop ideas and programs and initiatives to expand our appeal and to reach as many people as possible. We consult the growth and stewardship experts to help us restore our vitality. And that is good work. We have to do it. We have to do it. But I hope that we will first heed Jesus' teaching to abide in him. I hope that we will allow ourselves to be pruned and shaped by Jesus such that we desire only to love more, serve more, and give more. I hope that we continue to love so completely and serve so humbly that we make the presence of God known all around us to everyone who comes within comes within our doors, to know that the love of God is there for them. I hope that we will work to be in relationship with God over and over and over again. That we will work to be in relationship with the one on whom God has set God's seal, Jesus. Because the truth is, if we become disconnected from Jesus, if we become disconnected from that source of life and abundance, if we forget to abide in the one who first loved us, it won't matter how much we do. It won't matter how many programs we do. It won't matter how much money we raise. It won't matter if our music ministry sing like the angels themselves. It won't matter that the preacher keeps preaching and faithfully over and over again. It doesn't matter how big the building gets. It doesn't matter how many programs, how many special celebrations. If we are disconnected from the one who called us to discipleship, if we're disconnected from the love that keeps coming our way even when we don't deserve it, if we disconnect ourselves from the one who resides in the bosom of God and makes available to us grace upon grace. If we don't do it, it won't matter much at all. And so as we continue our ministry, as we welcome friends, old and new, as we look forward to all of the things that we're going to do in the next year, as we look forward to serving and celebrating and doing everything we know how to do, I pray that our first act of discipleship would be to abide in the love of Jesus Christ. I pray that when someone asks us, do you have a personal relationship with Jesus? Your answer will be, that's the wrong question, friend. But let me tell you what my relationship with Jesus is like.